So I think that we're live, right? Yeah, we're good. All right. So, hello everybody. Thank you for coming in. So we don't have any food this week, but this week we're going to be going over Sid Davis.
We already did eat a candy bar.
Yeah, we actually did get something. I might as well do that. We found a brand new product. It's not actually new. It's about 16 years old. It's Reese's Take 5. It used to be owned by Hershey's, was it? Yeah, and then somehow Reese's bought it. And then as we were eating it, we were like, why didn't we do this on camera? Whatever.
Just watch us chew for a few minutes. It was very tasty.
So anyway, this week, as I promised, we're going to be going over Sid Davis. And as an introduction to it, what I wanted to do was I wanted to show about a minute or two of something I think is sort of characteristic of what he was doing. And again, he made somewhere between 150 and 200 films, all about the same theme. And I made a mistake last week that said he died in 2012. It was 2006 actually, so I want to correct that mistake. Let's see if we can get this thing to, it's always kind of a dream, isn't it?
Well, it's better than when you turn it on and put it on pause, and it definitely doesn't work. Oh, here we go.
Okay, here it is.
Ready to go.
Here we are. So this is 19. Oh yeah, we have to also shut the volume too. That was a big problem last week, is that was way quiet. So more. Okay, good. So Sid Davis's things were mostly.
And here he is.
That was one of the backgrounds that I wanted to say. First of all, is that Sid Davis produced most of the stuff in Los Angeles in the Inglewood and Culver City area. Now, one of the things about Inglewood is that most people know it back to maybe the 1980s, and they don't know it back any further than that. And in the 80s, it was like this really sort of a dangerous place to be. But in the 1920s, it was the head of the KKK on the West Coast.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so
it was very racist, kind of.
It was.
Dangerous for minorities to be.
I remember about 10 years ago, I thought I remember reading it being a sundown town and having a bunch of racist stuff on it. I thought so. But then, as I was doing research on this, I looked quite a bit to try to find evidence of that, but I couldn't find it. So it was on Wikipedia at the time. But I went to original sources. I went through Archive of LA Times and things, trying to find as much, but I couldn't find it. But I do know that it was almost all white until about 1960. Also, right near it is where George W. Bush lived when he was a child.
That's right, yeah.
And
when they were drilling for oil, when the family was looking for oil. And
so it was a nice suburban house, and so it wasn't what you consider today, was mostly a Hispanic neighborhood, and so it was kind of the Orange County of its day. So that's part of it. So I think that my problem was that I was pressing the wrong play button when I did this last time. And if that one goes away, then I can't do it. I'm going to eventually figure this one out. You see? So,
whatever you did is correct.
So, one of the nice things about Sid Davis is you get to see a lot of sort of early Los Angeles scenes. If you know what you're looking for. Because he has a lot of street stuff.
Children come and go in this hospital every day. The following scenes show some of the most common accidents that happen to kids.
Yeah, the background.
Because they did first and thought
and
last.
So he's basically saying, like,
like the one
if you run a holding scissors, you're going to poke your eye out. All these things that your mother told you.
Children are crippled or killed by accidents in their home or neighborhood than all the diseases like polio, TB, and heart trouble put together.
It's always over the top.
Mom and Dad tonight. They'll really be surprised. For instance, we know that every boy and girl should know how to swim.
Had no water in it.
Oh, that girl wants to have some fun. Looks like she's telling her friend to jump on Johnny when he comes up from his dive. Yep, that's what she told him to do, all right. That's a good trick. It worked out just like she planned. Wait a minute. Something's wrong with Johnny. Of course, tricks don't always turn out as you think they will.
This
Like
is a
this
dead
one,
man's
for
float,
instance.
if you didn't learn that.
Lucky for Johnny that Pete knew enough to drag him out of the pool and give him artificial respiration at once.
Like,
Had they waited until they got to the hospital to do it, like this poor boy, it would have been too late. The trick almost had an
like dead in
ending.
like 10 seconds.
Another bad
And then you know the premise, and you're like,
is
okay.
fire,
Oh.
as you all know.
Fireworks.
I know it's gonna happen. Like gasoline's gonna come out somewhere.
But it can also be very dangerous.
Is he playing with matches? Is
He's
he
playing with
literally
matches.
playing with matches?
But Bill just isn't thinking about
And I like how they got like a 5-year-old and like a 14-year-old to play together.
Try and still can't get a blaze started.
The house is right here. Isn't Mom watching?
I don't think so.
Ah, it seems that David here has a good idea.
Let's get some gasoline.
See, it's just so predictable because you know what's gonna happen next.
Probably some more matches. Although if he hasn't started it by now, if that's
I like the money
gas,
shot of
he's
the
gonna be
gasoline
awfully
can.
sorry.
And none of the kids are like,
We'll stop
that's a
if
bad
we don't
idea.
get gas on the fire. No,
We're not
no
close
one
enough
said a
to the
word.
fire,
They're
right?
too busy concentrating on the fire to think about what might happen. And did happen. So, another bad accident. It doesn't always take gasoline to make fire
It's
dangerous.
the same doctor
With
and nurse.
know-how, you
Well,
can burn
it's probably the same
fire.
kid too.
Yeah.
With carelessness, fires will burn you.
Oh look, he just did the
Oh, Jakob Schmerno.
Yeah.
Fires will burn you.
instead of the
Here's
other.
another cause for accidents.
And like everything here, like you know what's coming.
For instance, this looks simple, doesn't it?
And it's just kids getting hurt for like the next 10 minutes. Okay, somebody
And it
Jump
was.
off the roof?
like okay, I guess like how are they gonna get hurt this time?
Who thought this was a good...
Okay, so how is this kid gonna get hurt?
Who thought
He
this
still
was going to
seems
land
be
on the
in
other
one
one?
piece. He
Oh,
says
no.
easy. Nothing to it.
Whoever
Tell
thought
his
this was
friend
a
to
good
jump.
idea? Let's climb up on a building?
But this boy isn't so
He's gonna
sure.
break a leg.
Oh.
Come on, Mike,
Neck.
don't
Don't
be
you usually
afraid.
break your
Jump.
neck?
It's not
He
hard.
should break his neck. That's
No,
that,
Mike.
I was
I'm
expecting him
going
to land on his head.
Take
I
some deep
really
breaths
was.
and-
Oh!
But then I realized like they wouldn't
Unfortunately, he
do
landed
that because they
the
couldn't
wrong
shoot
way.
that.
Yeah.
His friend is
They never
very
throw a
sorry,
dummy from the top.
But being sorry won't mend
That'd
the
be great.
broken
No,
leg.
now we need to see that same doctor set the...
Oh, it's coming.
He's got a very busy waiting room.
It's
It
coming.
is the same... Oh no, this is a different doctor. This is the
Jumping from high
orthopedist.
places isn't smart.
Same
And
nurse.
pushing somebody when he doesn't expect it can be very dangerous. Walking on picket fences, climbing around old buildings may be fun, but it can also put boys and girls in the hospital.
I think the target is
and
actual
isn't
children.
so much fun.
Let's jump off a roof. That's
Here's
just
something
the
else
thing
to
of
look
the
out
heart.
for. Playing in the streets. Ball games are fun, but they should also be safe. That's what playgrounds and schoolyards are for.
I thought he was going to
Or if he
hit
keeps his eye
break a
on the
window.
ball, he can't
But I was
look
wrong.
out
Is
for
a car
traffic,
going to
too.
come?
Yes,
Oh.
he's going to get hit by a car.
Now,
Neither
you
are
know
friends
what?
warning.
That's the driver's... This one's the driver's fault.
Prevented an accident,
This one
or
finally...
saved this boy. And again, the ambulance brings in the victim of an accident that never should have happened.
But they didn't do anything wrong except play in the street.
Oh,
Yes.
Never been
Hector?
dead.
no,
it's,
it's Echo Park.
Oh, it's Echo
It's
Park.
Echo Park, like that.
I thought it was McCarthy.
It was a
Oh,
lovely
it's
day,
Echo Park.
peaceful and quiet,
You can tell because that's
perfect for
right there.
boating.
Right? Of course.
Who lets two 5-year-olds go canoeing in Los Angeles without watching?
Too quiet for Ed, I guess. 'Cause all
This
of
was a
sudden,
tough shot.
he shouted to Bob to look at something on the
I mean,
shore.
you know, they have to be right next to him with a camera.
Bob did something no one should ever do. Stand up in a canoe. This gave Ed a chance to start rocking the canoe and scare poor Bob. But once again, what started out as an innocent joke ended up in something more serious. It's a good thing Ed remembered what he learned in the Boy Scouts. And True
He's still
Bob
smiling as like his friend's
trying
drowning.
to prevent a drowning.
And then
No, wait, what are they doing with guns at all?
Blindness.
If he puts an apple on his
Is
head,
not only illegal
I want to copy this.
but is a possible killer and crippler
Where?
in their
Who
hands.
gives some kids?
How much more dangerous can this thing get?
It's a good shot, but look what happened.
So the danger here is
It's
shooting
very
the
easy to
bottle,
put on
not
Yeah.
shooting the
with a
gun.
Yeah, he put out his
You
eyes
should
on
only
it.
fire a gun at a target.
Is it worth this, boys and girls? Supposing this were you.
Oh, he shot his eye out.
Just getting a half look at the world because someone didn't know how to use a gun safely.
Well, remember, this is
How
far
right.
right.
Case of this young lady. Cut
Oh,
out paper towels
Oh,
in
no,
the
the
safety of
scissor.
her own home.
Scissor. Okay. Scissor danger.
Doesn't seem possible an accident could happen
Is she gonna
here.
cut a finger off?
I haven't
When she
made
heard her
this
father
far.
at the door, she got excited. She just had time to hide behind the door and surprise him.
Look at their scissors.
She jumped to her feet. This time it was different. She tripped and fell on the scissors.
Oh my gosh.
And the doctor has another patch-up job to do.
These are.
It's always dangerous to run with scissors or any other
I had
sharp
no idea what was
weapon
going to
in the
happen.
hand.
That's so great.
It's also dangerous to climb on
She's
anything
got
while
scissors.
holding scissors. If you fell,
This
you
is
could
like
cut
really
yourself
kindergarten.
or poke out an eye.
Well, she's not running.
I don't think she's checked out on those scissors.
You know, this is the other way. This is the one up near the reservoir.
No. Silver Lake?
Yeah.
Now, how could anything possibly happen to these boys?
We know it will.
Let's go out to the edge of the cliff. His friends know better. But Nick
Oh no,
feels
it's
like
the
exploring.
beach.
He doesn't stop to think that the fence was put up for a reason.
Come on, guys. What could go wrong?
Nick doesn't stop to think until it's too late.
They probably shouldn't even bother to get him.
The boy learned
He's a
what
gunner.
fences were for the hard way. And he's not out of trouble yet.
That was a good shot too.
Yeah, you see, they had dummies, so...
But lucky for Nick, he's not alone.
Drive to the nearest phone booth.
One of his friends goes for help. And comes back with the best friend a kid could have when trouble occurs. A policeman. The officer goes into action fast.
This action, he's got a rope. If this fence is coming down too, that would be funny. Now the policeman should have looked at the fence to make sure.
Isn't there like a staircase nearby?
Someone's getting to the beach. How did you get to the beach?
With a rope,
The
obviously.
rescue begins. That's
Wait a
another
second.
thing to remember, boys and girls. Whenever you get into real trouble, go to your nearest police officer or sheriff. You'll find him a real friend in need.
I thought that they were about to have the kid climb up, and I was like, well, he just like broke 17 bones. Like, how?
But so he's going to carry him up. But I also don't understand. There must be some way of getting down to the beach. The kid's
Look,
standing.
he's standing. He's not. He can walk. Like, he's fine.
Why does he?
Oh, that's all he did. He just broke his wrist.
To
That's
make
all.
sure he's not hurt any place but his wrist before he carries him up the rope.
Ah, the fireman's carry. Was that an escalator over there?
He goes an elevator.
There's
He's
a
learned his
funicular.
lesson and was lucky not to have been hurt more than he was. You youngsters can save yourselves a lot of pain if you just stop and think. Listen to the advice of your parents and teachers. A hospital bed isn't anywhere near as nice as your bed at
Give you a
home.
cup of coffee?
A bone that is broken in too many places may keep you from ever playing ball again. Maybe figures don't mean much to you, but listen, try to understand.
This is back when playgrounds
Because
were
it's
fun.
your life I'm talking about. More than 12,500 kids die every year. More than 50,000 of them are permanently crippled every year. More than 1,500,000 children are seriously injured every year.
Really?
And all of these accidents
1,500,000?
happen in your own home,
Maybe in
your own
1852.
neighborhood.
But that
So
seems like
be
it would be a
careful, kids.
smaller number. And
Too many youngsters end up in the hospital. Why don't you stay out of it? Live and learn, because you are the America of tomorrow.
Oh, look, it's before Alaska and Hawaii.
Yes,
Yeah, okay, right. So, okay, so that's Sid Davis. That wasn't his most famous thing, but I think it's a really sort of good introduction.
this
as
isn't
to
as good as the porn one.
That one?
The anti-porn one was the finest
Yeah.
picture ever made. What is?
But the famous one here, which is the Boys Beware,
Boys Beware. That sounds good. That sounds promising.
is the same guy. So in order to understand this, I think that we have to go back to conceptions of sexual deviance in this ties to the theme of last week. This is 1960s.
Oh.
So basically, if you were to the only kind of acceptable sort of physical relationship was if you were married to somebody, generally speaking, maybe the same race as you, and the opposite gender. And then you only are intimate if you are planning to have children, right?
Right. And at night with the lights off.
And then if there's any deviation from any of those things, then it's in this one giant big grab bag that is all the same thing. It's completely indistinguishable. So two women that happen to live together monogamously in a loving relationship for 60 years is the same as a child predator. Because it's not the first thing I talked about.
Yeah.
And because it's not that, then it goes into this huge, vast category over here. Wife swapping, people that are into sexual fetishes, or people that are, same gay partner for 50 years and live in a loving relationship. Same thing. So, given that pretext of how they view the world, this is going to make a lot more sense. Because you're going to see these things where you're like, no, just because somebody does that doesn't mean they do that over there. I'm like, I know that, you know that in 2020, but back then, not so much. So that's why this is so frustrating and so funny at the same time.
Sid Davis, expert.
Well, you have to understand, he's doing it for the same reason as he did the last one. Is that he's like, well, people could poke their eye out. It's the Jewish mother syndrome, right?
I don't think he's beware.
Mm-hmm. So here's your Inglewood, right? There you go.
And Inglewood School District.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know they had a school district.
It's its own city. They incorporated in the 1880s or so.
I thought it was part of LA Unified. I guess
No, Inglewood became its own city. Again, I did a lot
the
of
school
research
district.
on Inglewood. Trying to, and there wasn't anything there.
Little walking music, please. Let's get into the Chrysler and head home and see what's for dinner.
I'm Lieutenant Williams, a police officer attached to the Juvenile Division. I'm on my way to Monroe Junior High School to talk to a group of young people.
Look at the smog.
Innocent enough, doesn't it?
Yeah, wow.
Lots of young people hitchhike. Seems like a good way to get from one place to another. But sometimes there are dangers involved that never meet the
It's like
eye.
super dangerous playground.
That's right, just cement
Take
under
the
me.
case of Jimmy
Why is this
Barnes.
so out of focus?
Jimmy
It's
played
copy the
baseball
copy.
all afternoon, and he didn't feel like walking home, so he decided to thumb a ride.
There's probably high quality cups out there. But, I mean, it's just,
He should have been where, Jimmy?
He'd done it 100 times before, and he didn't think anything was unusual when the driver struck up a friendly conversation. In fact, he seemed like a real nice guy. He asked Jimmy if he played baseball in the park often. Jimmy told him they practiced 3 times a week and played a rival group on Friday afternoon. The stranger was a good listener, too, and had only seen minutes before they pulled up in front of Jimmy's house. When Jimmy got out, the stranger gave him a friendly pat. Then he told him he'd
Is that
seen
Jack Nicholson?
as he always drove by the park on his way home. Sure enough, the following day, when Jimmy finished playing ball, well, the man was there waiting.
There's more of like a narrative lead into this one.
This really is a long ramp up for a child
They
molestation.
stopped at a drive-in and the stranger treated him to a Coke. During their conversation, he told several off-color jokes. But Jimmy had heard others before, and, well, it made him feel big to so easily win the confidence of an older person.
And he took him fishing?
The city looks very nice.
That's lovely.
The following Saturday, they went fishing together.
But the mother just allows it.
They first names. Ralph said it was more
it's like-
friendly.
It's like with the parents of those Michael Jackson children. Oh, sure, go sleep in his bed.
Jimmy hadn't
I'm sure it's fine.
so much in a long time.
It'll be fine.
Did he have enjoyed himself like
Ralph
this?
showed him some pornographic pictures. Jimmy knew he shouldn't be
Fishing and looking at
but, well,
naked
he was
pictures and
curious.
eating
What Jimmy
sandwiches.
didn't know was that Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious. A sickness of the mind. You see, Ralph was a homosexual. A person who demands an intimate relationship
It sounds like Twilight
with
Zone.
members of their own sex.
It sounds like what?
Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
By now,
the
Jimmy
memories.
felt a fondness for Ralph.
Oh, but they're going hunting again? Again with the guns.
Ralph was generous and took Jimmy many interesting places and did many nice things.
Where are his parents as he's dating this older man?
He bought presents and even gave him money. But payments were expected in return. You see, Jimmy hadn't recognized Ralph's approach soon enough. When Ralph first asked Jimmy to go fishing alone,
But they've gone on like 10 dates. He should have known that eventually. Isn't that like a 3-date rule?
Hasn't he figured it out?
Jimmy told his parents, and they reported it to the juvenile authorities. Ralph was arrested, and Jimmy was released on probation in the custody of his parents.
Why was Jimmy arrested? Did we miss something?
No, the older guy was arrested.
No, Jimmy was released to the custody of his parents.
Well, why wasn't he in custody of his parents before?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because his parents did such a good job. Did we miss something here?
I don't think
No
so.
one noticed the man who sat and watched.
His parents did such a great job. Let's let Jimmy go back to them.
Mike decided to stay and practice a little longer.
And not only, but like, that's a pretty classy pedophile.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Took him miniature golfing. And
he warms up.
The stranger joined him. He was friendly and, well, it was better than playing
is he
alone.
wearing a suit?
I think so.
But after
I wonder if it's the same one.
Mike realized he had already overstayed his time.
The guy's already had
He
up
better
there.
leave.
That's a different
The
one.
stranger told him if he'd like to stay longer, he'd be glad to drive him home when they finished. Sounded great to
Never
Mike.
trust a man in a
He
bow
would
tie.
stay longer and get a ride home too.
So, do like creepy pedophiles hang out at parks? Is this something?
I guess this is so.
When they finished,
This
the
is
stranger
really-
told him he'd make a fine player someday if he got lots of
Takes a
practice.
long time to get to
The
the.
companionship, the praise, the friendly attitude dispelled any misgivings Mike
I mean, maybe it's
might
just on the
have
internet
with
these
the
days. I
stranger.
have no idea.
He probably never realized until too late that he was riding in the shadow of death. But sometime that evening, Mike Merrick traded his life for a newspaper headline.
What?
What happened?
As Denny and Jerry got the papers ready for Jerry's afternoon delivery, they only casually noticed the two boys that raced by in the afternoon traffic. And they didn't pay much attention to the car that drew up shortly afterwards.
So they don't actually.
Called them over.
So they just. I guess you just get killed. He had sex with him and killed him.
I don't know. Like they moved on to the next story.
On bicycles, the boys nodded.
I guess it's a
Did
given.
they recognize them
Yeah.
when they saw them again? Well, then he guessed he could. And hop in, the man said. Those are stolen bikes. Without giving it another thought, Denny got in and the car sped away. Jerry watched. He'd been told many times, if a friend got in a car with a stranger, to write down the license number. It didn't seem to apply, but, well, fortunately, he marked it down.
Don't take a ride from strangers. I mean, come on. I think that's the only idea behind this.
When he delivered a paper to Denny's house, he asked his mother if they caught the boys that had stolen the bicycles. Denny hadn't returned, so he told her the story and gave her the paper with the license number.
I'm going in to call
parents, he
officer.
decided to call the police. Jerry supplied the necessary information, and the stranger's car was quickly spotted. It was a good example of how important it is to always get the license number and description of any stranger who takes a young person off alone, no matter what they tell you.
What world is this?
It's like a pedophile lurking behind every corner.
Public restrooms can often be a hangout for the homosexual. Bobby and his friends hadn't noticed the man who had been in the restroom when they changed. His lady suggested they take the shortcut under the pier, but the others preferred to take the more
Is that Santa Monica?
home.
I think so.
I think, well, they thank the Santa Monica police.
Yeah.
I like the shadow.
I like this entire shot, how he's snuck behind.
And he's wearing a suit. I like the suit.
This is good.
Under the boardwalk. That was a good
When
scene.
Bobby recognized the stranger as the man in the restroom, the shortcut under the pier didn't seem like a good idea at all.
This has got the, it's like a zombie movie almost, right?
Yeah, like Night of the Living Dead.
It's more fun to stay with your friends anyway. Bobby had made a wise decision. It may have saved his life.
So he was going to be killed.
I think so.
Decision is always yours, and your whole future may depend on making the right one.
So the homosexuals, pedophiles, murderers, same group.
Same
Careful if
thing.
they are too friendly.
Yeah.
If they try to win your confidence too quickly, and if they become overly personal. One never knows when the homosexual is about. He may appear normal, and it may be too late when you discover he is mentally ill. So keep with your group, and don't go off alone with strangers unless you have the permission of your parent or teacher.
I mean, that's generally a good idea, I guess.
Don't go off with strangers. He
Yeah.
might be homosexual.
Well, I mean, yeah. So, that's the famous one. He did a follow-up, a remake of it, but I've never seen it. It's called Boys
Color?
Yeah, there's a color one. I haven't seen that one, but I think that's the last one. Don't want to stop there. There's also one called Girls Aware, or Girls Beware, and that one is, I think it's from Creepy Guys.
Oh.
I think
Well,
that's
they should be aware of that.
So we could do that one, or we could do the 70s version. Which
Let's
one?
do the 70s boys version.
Okay, sure. Sounds good.
73? Wow.
I mean,
He's still doing this in
he's
70s?
very revanchist, you know. He was doing this in the 90s.
Boys aware.
Right.
And this is a two-color Technicolor? Again,
he
Inglewood.
He's still high face cooperation. Look at that. Only by this time, Inglewood had already split over and was a multicultural city.
Not here, it wasn't. This is red and white is the color. Hi, I'm Detective.
There's also 4x3
Maddox.
shift to 16x9, so it's still.
It's got the sideburns and
Well, what was it? I don't understand what the Arkham. I don't understand what the need for the remake is.
well, let's see, maybe
I'm
it's
Lieutenant Williams, a police officer attached to the Juvenile Division. I'm on my way to Monroe Junior High School.
It's the same
with a
thing.
group of young people.
maybe it's the same pedophiles.
Innocent enough, doesn't it?
It's shot by shot for shot.
Seems
Why
like
did
a
they do
good
that?
way to get from one place to another. But sometimes there are dangers involved that
I think it's the
meet
same
eye.
voice guy.
It's the same voice actor for
Even
sure.
though it's a
Like the case of
different.
Jimmy Barnes. Jimmy played baseball all afternoon, and He didn't feel like walking home, so he decided to thumb a ride.
Did they think that it was
Is it just to put it in color?
maybe going to update the terminology?
Let's see. But it's the
He'd
same.
done it 100 times
I think it's
before.
the same
He didn't think anything was
voice.
unusual when the
Not
driver
only the same
struck up a
voice
friendly
actor
conversation.
playing, even though the actor's different, the same
He
voiceover.
asked Jimmy if he
Sure.
played
I think
baseball
it
or
might be the
football.
same.
Jimmy told him they practiced 3 times a week
Soundtrack.
and played a rival group on Friday afternoon.
I don't think so.
The stranger was a good listener, too, and had only seen minutes before they pulled up in front of Jimmy's house.
Yeah, that is the same one. But I mean, maybe they could tease out the fact that not all.
Out, the stranger gave him a friendly pat.
It is.
It's the same. It's the same thing.
Then he told him he'd see him again.
I think Jimmy's
He
coming on
always
to him
drove
now.
by the
I
park
think
on
Jimmy's
his way
giving
home.
him signals.
How are you, cat? You know, mother's not home right now. You can come right in. Yeah, I almost scored, mother.
The following day, when Jimmy finished playing golf, well, the
It's
man was there
even the
Day
same
two.
location. It's the same location.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a baseball bat. Why can't you find the guy off?
Threw a weapon. No, he walked into the. Was that the driver's side that he walked into?
They stopped at the drive.
No.
Oh, this is a different
Into
shot.
a Coke.
I didn't see the kind of. They should be sharing one cup with his dress.
But Jimmy had heard others before, and, well, it made him feel big to so
I mean, they're older man, yeah.
An older person.
He is definitely coming on to that.
The following Saturday, they went fishing together.
It's
By
the
now,
same thing.
they were
There's
using
there's
first
shots.
names. Ralph said it was more friendly.
Only I love the John Waters looking guy with the mustache
Yeah,
and
that was
sunglasses.
funny.
Just great.
Then during lunch,
Same
Ralph
thing.
showed him some
Yeah.
pornographic pictures.
It's the same soundtrack. It's the same voice.
It is.
Well, he was curious. What Jimmy didn't know was that Ralph was sick. A sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous
Smallpox,
and
which
contagious.
by 1972 had been wiped out. So instead of saying like,
Ralph was a
there's
homosexual.
there's
A
still
person who
it's
demanded
in retro
an open
diseases.
relationship with
By this
members
point,
of
he
their
could have
own
said
family.
AIDS.
72?
No,
But
no.
by now, Jimmy felt a fondness for
Herpes.
Ralph.
Yeah.
They continued to go places
VD.
together.
VD.
Ralph was generous and took Jimmy
There's Santa Monica
many
again.
places and did many nice things for him.
Well, like hanging from a...
So wait, there's no need we need to go through this one.
Even gave him money, but payments were expected in return.
Let's see if he's
You
gonna die
see,
too.
Jimmy hadn't
Of course they are.
recognized Ralph's approach soon enough. When Ralph first asked Jimmy to go fishing alone, he should have discussed it with his parents or teacher.
Yeah.
Finally, Jimmy told his parents, and they reported it to the juvenile authorities. Ralph was arrested, and Jimmy was released.
What did they say? Like,
from
I broke up with my
custody of his
boyfriend?
parents.
Jimmy was released in the custody of his parents.
But all
Mhm.
All right, this is
homosexuals
the
are not
same.
passive.
It's the same. All right.
So
Let's just watch the girls one.
Yeah, let's see what the
Case of
girls
Mike
want.
Merritt.
Oh, look, they have an actual black kid.
Oh wow.
That's what they do.
There it is.
So they can put the black kid
In the
in.
heat of
Oh, look, and here's a
conflict,
black pedophile.
no one noticed the man who sat with
Oh,
watch.
black pedophile. I wonder if he
And when
thinks
the
that
duel
only the
broke
black
out,
kid. He
Ralph
does.
is left.
Mhm.
Mike decided
Oh,
to stay.
oh, that's why they redid it.
Are they gonna like do some jive
Yeah.
things? Like something like completely racist and inappropriate? Oh, they don't even have the net on there anymore.
He was friendly
And this guy, why isn't the black guy wearing a suit like the white guys? Because that's racist. It's about the black
After
pedophile
a
in
few
the suit.
shots, Mike realized he had already overstayed his time and suggested he better leave. The stranger told him if he'd like to stay longer, he'd be glad to drive him home when they finished. Sounded great to Mike. Chance to play longer and get a ride home, too.
This guy is gonna get killed too.
I think so.
Let's see. I think
When
that's.
they finished, the stranger told him he'd make a fine player someday if he got lots of practice. The companionship, the praise, The friendly attitude dispelled any misgivings
I would say that
Mike
the,
had about going with a
Listen
stranger.
to this. Here
He
we go.
probably never realized until too late that he was riding in the shadow of death. But sometime that evening, Mike Merritt traded his life for a newspaper headline.
He killed him. All right, we've seen this.
I think the filming's better this time. Like I think the shots
Since
are
then,
good.
Jerry got the papers ready for Jerry's afternoon delivery. They only casually noticed the two boys that raced by in the afternoon traffic. And they didn't pay much attention to the car that drew up shortly
That. Then I want.
afterwards. Until the man...
See if I can do this play. So
Girls Beware.
it was done the same year as The Boys Beware, but initially you're like, oh, is it gonna be the same thing, and they'll be afraid of lesbians?
With the same voiceover.
Same, and they just change the gender. But I believe no, I think it's quite creepy. High school boys is what they have to be aware of.
This is hipper music. This swings. Policewoman. Ooh, this is who you should be scared
I'm
of.
Norma Neufner, policewoman, attached to the juvenile division. I'm on a call from a very worried mother whose daughter is missing. Her daughter's name is Judy Miller. Judy enjoyed babysitting, but there weren't enough jobs among the people she knew, so she decided to advertise at the supermarket for extra work.
I said, war.
Late the following
Wouldn't that be funny? She was looking at one of the magazines from last week.
The man told her he and his wife were going out to dinner and that their regular could pick her up in 15 minutes.
Where are the parents?
Judy
Surprised she
didn't
didn't have, like, a
return
princess
when it was
phone.
time to go, so she left a message by the telephone.
Holy shit! I've never thought
I
what?
found Judy's note and called the number to let Judy know she was home in case she wanted anything.
Does she have like an abacus around her wrist? Before the pocket calculator.
Hello?
A woman answered.
There's
She
no
didn't know
Judy
anything
here.
about Judy and told Mrs. Miller she must have the wrong number.
She's already got her robe on, she's ready to go to sleep, and Judy's still
By
missing.
midnight, Mrs. Miller was
Yeah,
completely
because
worried.
she's
She
dead.
phoned the police and was transferred to juvenile. I took the necessary information and assured her we'd do everything we could. She'd have to try to be patient and wait. The waiting lasted
The
almost
policewoman looks like a Renaissance
Then
woman.
the report came in. Judy's body had been found on a lonely desert road.
A lonely desert road.
The most difficult part of my job is bringing bad news to parents.
Yeah, that would suck.
You can never find the right words to tell a mother her daughter has been murdered. Judy hadn't done anything wrong. She'd only been careless. Careless about whom she trusted.
Those
In itself,
eyebrows.
there'd been nothing wrong about advertising for a job, but it led her to trusting a person she knew nothing about. A mentally sick person who used her innocent ad as an introduction to his act of violence.
I guess
Being
the
safe is
assumption is
often
raped
not
and
applying
murdered,
good
right?
judgment in everyday life. One night while Barbara was babysitting, the doorbell rang. She didn't open the door, but called and asked who it was. A stranger said his car had broken down and couldn't use the phone.
Classic.
Barbara was very polite, but she told him she was babysitting and expecting a call from her parents. However, she was sure the next door neighbors were home and perhaps he could use their phone. The stranger thanked her and left. Now, Barbara had been polite and helpful, but she hadn't taken any chances. And when her father called, she was safe.
She went back to do her arithmetic.
The soundtrack is very.
It is, it really
Friday night was movie time for Sally and Elizabeth. Their parents alternated weeks taking them and picking them up. Friendships are easily made in a crowded theater, and when two older boys struck up a conversation and moved next to them, they were secretly pleased.
Can you keep it down? I'm trying to watch the movie.
Are they at the malt shop?
At intermission, Sally found it flattering to have her friends see her in the company of older boys, and when they asked if they could take the girls home, she was all for it. She asked Elizabeth to call her folks and tell them that they could ride with a friend's parents. Elizabeth was tempted, but decided it wouldn't be right. Sally was disappointed.
That was the last they were heard.
Then there was a Glasgow smile. She was found in the
When the show was over and they were leaving, the boys suggested
Lamar Park.
that Elizabeth couldn't go with them. Why didn't Sally come? Sally thought it was a great idea and asked Elizabeth to tell her folks that her parents had picked her up. Elizabeth didn't like the idea, but Sally insisted.
Don't trust boys you meet at the
So
picture show.
Elizabeth left alone.
20 cents.
Not any of the boys she went with had a car, so it was fun riding with the older fellows.
The ominous music, man.
It's like Dick
But when
Dale.
the girl right past her house, she became concerned.
We're not going home. Oh, it's at Inglewood Oil Fields.
When they arrived at
Oh, yeah.
Elizabeth's Creek, she was frightened. She tried to convince herself there was nothing to worry about, but when they
Yeah, I'll
crossed
just
the
live
road,
with it.
she knew she had gotten
That's the hill between,
she couldn't handle it.
Okay, well, at the same time, I like that.
At midnight, her parents became alarmed and called to Nelson. Yes, Elizabeth was home. Hadn't they picked up Sally? No, over an hour ago. Well, of course she could talk to Elizabeth. Between guilty tears, Elizabeth told
I
her
like how it always ends in murder.
Sally had been found, dazedly walking down the road from Lookout Peak. It was a night they'll long remember.
Oh,
In
she's
fact,
alive.
Sally may never be able to forget it.
23
All
cents.
seemingly innocent places can turn out to be just where wrong associations are made. Mary met Robert at just such a place. Robert frequented the malt shop in his spare time, which was
There it is, the malt
He
shop.
finished high school and didn't work. Here he sought out the company of younger teenagers because he wasn't accepted by those of his own age group.
Oh, let's see.
Mary and her girlfriend could always be found at the malt shop after school. Mary had seen Robert before and thought he was very good looking, so she was naturally flattered when
This
he
is a
singled her
malt
out.
shop. I think this is a taco stand.
Is this the Kiko time?
Except everything from cars to movie stars. When he offered her a ride home, she was only too happy to accept.
You know who could use this? Is Uber. You know,
Oh, he's got a truck. I already don't trust him. No one wrote down the.
no roads in the play, I know. I mean, what, are you going to have like a gold water sticker on the back?
For a while and talked. Mary was a good listener, and Bob enjoyed nothing more than talking about himself.
That's 2 gold water jokes in 2 weeks.
Mary knew her mother would be upset if she came home with an older boy.
Our 50 viewers will have to figure out what that is. Oh, what? Her mother would be upset if she came home with an older boy? Is that, yeah.
So she had to be dropped across the street.
Oh, I see.
After that, they saw a good deal of each other. At first, Bob was willing to see her at the malt shop. But as time went on, he became jealous of her friends and insisted on their spending more time alone.
I don't recognize any of these places.
They're probably all much different buildings now. There's nothing like this.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I guess so, like the parks we recognize and like the bodies of water. Like this was used before. This was only on the same park.
Oh yeah, that's a dangerous.
It's a dangerous park, yeah.
They began to go to secluded places, and their relationship became more intimate. Mary knew things were getting out of hand because Bob became more and more demanding. But not wishing to lose his friendship or the prestige she
Very
had
nice
from her
park.
friends for having an older boyfriend, she complied with his desires.
She put out his desires. Maybe she'll just get pregnant. Maybe she won't get
Then
killed.
Mary found she was in trouble and had to tell her parents. But now it was too late for advice, and Mary had to be taken out of school and placed under the guidance
Oh,
of
she
juvenile
did get
authorities.
pregnant.
Unfortunately, Mary's story is not an unusual one.
She
Too
had to
many
be
young
taken out of
girls are
school.
flattered by the attention of older boys and don't realize until too late that these boys, who cannot compete in their own age group, are often not well adjusted and will demand too much in a relationship with a younger girl.
Cannot compete in their own age
It's often
group.
the things that are done without thinking that get young people
She's
into trouble.
pregnant, that's what it is.
Trying to move too quickly.
But they can't use the word.
A
Yeah,
young person's
they can't
fate
say it.
often cause heartache and disaster.
Yeah. They can't say what happened, but we know.
You know what's kind of interesting is that they started with murder,
Yeah,
then they went to rape, then they went to pregnancy.
yeah. That's,
I mean,
you
if
think
this,
it would go in the other direction?
if this thing went on for another 10 minutes, we get like a first kiss. I don't know.
It's putting your ponytail in the inkwell.
So I guess that's
That's right. He hasn't learned how to escalate the story up. What did they show these in school?
I don't. He made 200 of them. I don't quite know what the intention was. I think he just. I don't think that he had. I don't know what else he did.
He must have rented them to schools. He must have.
Because, I've done a significant research on Sid Davis, and the only thing I see is that he made films. He's just a filmmaker.
He must have made money on it if he made 200 of them. They must have showed him in elementary schools all across the Midwest.
So, I guess so. Maybe there's some kind of grift that he was running. Because he could maybe make it for $1,000 and sell it to school districts for a couple thousand.
But even if you mean every school district? I don't know. That's a lot of
No,
money.
what I'm saying is that
He made it for $1,000 and made $5,000 on each one.
yeah,
But that's still not a lot of money.
Well,
Or maybe
maybe-
in 1961.
he made 200 of them.
Yeah, maybe in 1961 he made enough money.
I mean, at that rate, that's $800,000
Yeah.
turnaround. And that would also explain why he remade some of his movies,
No.
right?
Yeah. But in the cheapest way possible. Shot for shot, same vocal track, same music.
Right, and it's all of the references I saw. When you talk about I don't know, some great filmmaker like Alfred Hitchcock or Billy Wilder or something. Every now and then they'll say something. I don't know how many movies he made, but they'll say something like, he made 27 films, and then maybe somebody will say, maybe either say 28 because he worked on this one of
Yeah.
But it's pretty well known. Like there might be a controversy of maybe he made one more than that.
Yeah.
But the estimations here are somewhere between 150 and 200. It's just
It's a lot.
very wide
These
variation.
they must have shown them at PTA meetings or Girl Scout camp or something like that.
I don't know if there's some kind of Sid Davis archives. I mean, again, he didn't.
Is there a Sid Davis library? Does he have a memorial library?
I would
Sid
assume he has
Davis
kids. I assume that he has heirs. And I don't know. Maybe I can find him and say.
Maybe we can interview him next week. The kids. Sid
Um,
only died. Well, he died 15 years ago now. But
he was 90. Yeah, his kids would be kind of old. Maybe his grandkids. Maybe they care less.
I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. No, I think that's it. Thanks.
Anyone watching live?
A few people. Watching people watch TV, that's funny. And